Please.
Wiggity whack.
Oh no.
What'd you do?
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't say
Well,
Knowing.
no, we're live, but it switched instead of saying recording, it says broadcast.
Yeah, that's why I didn't click it the one night. Or
that.
when I was.
If I'm quiet this time, a friend and listener did remind me recently that you did fix it one time, but it was something that you did on your end.
You did it. You went into settings and you hit automatic.
It wasn't that because my setting still says that, and I think it was actually something else that you did on you.
Oh, maybe I turned you up over here. Yeah.
I think
Ahoy,
Let's
friends.
see. Are people coming in?
Ahoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Hello.
My friends are here.
Hello,
I don't know about you guys, but my
everybody.
friends are here.
Yo ho, a pirate's life for me.
This is your song, Zach.
This isn't the right. So this isn't the dance one.
This is the dance one.
There we go.
You're supposed to dance. Do the arms.
I don't know if you know this or not, but that one Genesis song was written about me.
What?
The
can't dance.
that one.
I can't move.
Oh, I can't dance either.
That was written about me.
What's up, everybody?
What's up, guys?
Who said no fighting? I can't handle it. No fighting. We're not fighting, Lilius.
Don't worry, it's coming.
Yeah. We're gonna be super.
I hope not.
Oh, there was a little fight earlier because so for those of you that are on Patreon, you'll see the video on Friday. Hopefully it recorded. We had technical difficulties again.
Oh no.
Loving the StreamYard.
Oh, no.
But Zach had said that he was going to be late, but he would be here by 8. My son Quentin is we're moving him into college tomorrow, and I was like, I've had a week, a busy week. I was like, man, I want to do something fun with my son, and I don't have time because I got to work tomorrow too. And so I was like, well, we'll have Quentin come on with me and Janet until Zach gets here. And then Zach walked in at like 7:20, and we're like, get the fuck out of here, we're not done. And so Zach had to sit out in the other room by himself for
But
10
I was
minutes.
texting with Zach, so it was
Yeah, Janet and I were
like he was with
texting.
me.
So
Yeah,
So
you really
fun.
took away from Quentin's experience by texting with Janet.
you know, it's too much rough.
Yes, it was a
Yeah.
lot of rough.
Too
heavy,
much rough.
heavy on the rough,
Uh,
light on the Zach.
Grayson says there should be more songs written about Zach.
Probably should be.
Oh, did people just stop chatting, or did my thing just not updating?
I hope people just stop chatting because mine's not updating either.
I mean, mine says Grayson was on. Today feels like a day I just want to say hi to everyone I see in there who's commented. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Schaefer. Hi, Warrior Princess. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Devin. Hi, Grayson. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Joshua.
Ooh,
Hi,
she's going
Erica.
for
Hi,
it.
Kristen. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Tiffany.
keep it
Hi,
going.
Sandra. Hi, Lynn. I think I'm starting to repeat myself. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Mama Dre. Hi, Lilius. Hi, Donna. Hi, Hannah. Hi, Grayson. Lilius, don't try to get me. I know I said hi to you. Hi, Chantel. Hi, Tony. Hi, Danae.
You did pretty good.
Oh,
about
it's a
not
different
hitting
Joshua. Hi,
anybody's
hi, Joshua.
face.
That went by fast.
Joshua,
Hi, Susan.
Joshua. I'm not giving away who it is, but just so you guys know, Joshua is the listener I was just talking about that put me in contact with his father, who happens to be an expert of sorts for this week's episode. He emailed me back and then hopped right on the live.
Great.
I like
I
that
see
you
your,
said.
I see your note. I'm opening up the thing that I am not really on anymore because I want to see what you're talking about. I'm excited. Potentially excited.
About Colin Miller. Okay, real quick. Thank you, Tiffany, for your weekly super chat asking about my hygiene.
Smells pretty good today. I don't know.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Tiffany, is I started this week. Next week, I start my part-time teaching job at the high school. And so this week I had to do all the preschool professional development stuff. So I have had to get up and shower for 2 days in a row now. Double shower. And actually yesterday I double showered because I'm kind of freaking out. It's kind of, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I've made working out such a part of my routine now that I was like freaking out yesterday because I had PD during the day. And then I got to come home for like 2 hours, and then I had to go back for like a meet the board thing, like to meet the school board. And like I came home. I told Becky, I'm like, I'm gonna run to the gym and I'm gonna do like a 45-minute quick workout, and then I'm gonna come home. Can you please? Because usually we kind of cook dinner together. But could you please just have dinner ready at like 5:35, and so I can shove some food in my face and then go. It's like I ran to the gym, did a quick workout, came back, was dripping in sweat. So then I had to take another shower to put some clothes back on so I could go back to the thing. So 2 showers yesterday, 1 today. No big deal.
And to that, I would just say, hi, Erica. Hi, Dawn.
What happened?
She's
I
still
fell
trying to say
asleep.
hi to everybody.
Hi, Valeria.
Chantel's wearing her
Buena
new
sera.
Truth and Justice t-shirt. Is that you must have got your Patreon t-shirt. So got more of those coming out. And Devin, I see you're in the chat. Zach has, listen, I don't know if I had all the sizes for you and Danielle
Didn't we talk about this last week?
that I needed. Well, I
So
don't
you gave me
remember.
a week early.
Yeah, it's so. But well, I was thinking about it. I gave Zach like 100 shirts for you and Danielle of different sizes for you, Danielle, and JJ.
I may have wore half of them.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Hey,
How'd your arm? Is your arm falling?
Happy anniversary.
Oh, I forgot to show you that. So remember last week, Zach was.
Listen, I do something nice, and it's still about him.
Yeah, well.
I was just gonna say I was gonna show people your amazing artwork. But what we fucked up though is we didn't take a before picture. So I've had it was like my very first big.
We technically have a before picture because you held it up to camera last week.
Oh,
If we
yeah,
take
yeah.
A screen grab of that, yeah.
Yeah, so you guys saw there was like this kind of faded out, shitty looking tattoo that I got literally 20 years ago. That didn't look good. And
Now I gave him a non-faded, shitty looking
yeah,
tattoo.
it kind of looks, it's peeling right now, so it probably doesn't look that great.
I think it looks.
But Zach was tasked with clean the two main pieces of
I'm
it, the
scared.
Maltese cross in the name, and then making the flames and everything actually fit the part of my body. And this is what he did. It's pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah,
It looks like a
that's
thing.
fabulous.
Who's a
Yeah,
That's a lot
Who's
of work.
Ruhoff?
Yeah, a Ruhoff. But yeah, it looks. I was
Hey, that looks pretty good.
where he was
great.
doing it. I was like, I couldn't see much of it, and then I got up, looked in the mirror, and I'm like, holy shit, that looks fucking amazing. Like Zach, that's kind of hard to. When you go to a quality artist, that's the kind of work that you get. Just pretty happy
Beautiful.
with it.
Especially if you could see how bad the beginning was.
Yeah.
Wait, did you get lightheaded? How long did it end up taking? I know you were worried about all the.
It was about
know.
3 Oh, that reminds me. I'm supposed to get cash for you too. I'll pay you. Whoops.
What a
You know,
mess.
here, let's run down to the old bank. I'll get you.
What a
That
mess.
is never getting paid.
He got,
Oh,
as he was finishing, I'm like, I'm
This
not
is
paying for
terrible.
this.
this is terrible.
And then I'm also
Kathy
gonna
and
get.
Dawn, thank you so much for the cookies. Thank you. I'm not even
Um,
mad that Bob waited to get them. To
I'm
me.
gonna when we leave here, I'm gonna write you a check.
I don't want a check. I want cash.
Okay, fine. Then we'll go to the
I want
bank.
cash.
We either go to the bank or I give it to you next week. You decide.
I want cash. Where are you going? Where are you going?
Huh?
Where are you going? You can't see me this week at all?
Yeah, it's your birthday coming up. So
Exactly. It's my fucking birthday. You can't
it's
see
Zach's
me.
birthday tomorrow. Yeah, when I see you.
He's like, I'll see you next week, even though your birthday's coming up.
And
Just like last year when we went out to dinner, and he's like, I don't know why we're going out to dinner, but let's go out to dinner.
Well, it was a surprise for you last year, wasn't it? When we went to the Italian place.
No, that was 2 years ago.
Oh, what was yesterday?
Last year we just went out to dinner, and then we got done. I'm like, thanks for coming out to my birthday dinner. And Bob's like, oh, that's why we're here.
Well, yeah, because your wife didn't tell me it was your birthday. She just said, "Let's all go out to dinner." I'm like, "That's okay. We'll go out to dinner with the Weavers." And I'm like, "Where are these other
Why
people
does
here?"
my screen blow up like this?
I don't know. What'd you do?
I don't know. I touched something.
There you
and
go.
But yeah, happy birthday, Zap. It's
Thank you.
tomorrow. So by
Yeah.
the time the non-livers see this, it will have been yesterday.
Mhm.
But
which
they
we're
won't
not
hear
recording
this.
right now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Happy
Happy birthday on Saturday, Susan. Her birthday
yeah,
was
happy Saturday.
Saturday.
birthday, Susan.
Do you know who was the first person to wish me happy birthday last year? Just to tell everybody.
What's up,
Who was the first person to wish me happy birthday last year?
JV?
JV.
She's good at that. Tiffany wants to know: does Zach have a tattoo Insta book? I need number 9.
I don't know what that means.
I think she's saying that like a flip book where you just pick one.
Oh.
Zach does only custom art. Am I right? You don't do book stuff, right?
I don't even have that stuff.
Yep. Only shop I ever been in where you didn't have like because like I don't know if people still do it, but like when I got my first tattoos, like back in the day, it was like you flip through the book. I'm like, oh, I'll take that one, and they would do that.
When I started tattooing, that's how it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do
Well,
other shops still do that, or is that kind of a
I
thing of
don't
the
know.
past?
I spend time in my shop. I don't go to other shops.
Spent a good amount of time in this shop this week.
Mhm.
Oh, all right. I think we can start this thing. We're going to try to keep this super short because I don't have any time this week. Oh.
Got it.
Tiffany, if you follow me on Instagram, you know,
There's a lot of examples.
because
on
we
there that
at the end of every single episode, it says if you'd like to follow us on Instagram,
At Z to the Q.
you can see my work. Thank you.
But you don't have one that's just your work. It's like a mixture of.
It's me.
Yeah. He likes to do a lot of pictures of paper towels.
I do.
With
They
the
turn out
camera.
cool.
Yeah.
They turn out cool.
I'm gonna hit record. Want me to?
Not
Hey,
yet.
weren't we supposed
Not yet.
Aren't we supposed to be done by now? We're 13 minutes in. Weren't we supposed to be?
We haven't
gonna
started recording
say-
yet. We haven't started recording yet.
We are 13 minutes
I was
in.
just
We
thinking,
haven't
I was
started.
just wondering. So my I told you, so I'm teaching this broadcasting class. We have no equipment. And so my principal told me to make an Amazon wish list and send it to them so that he has numbers for a budget. And then they said they were going to like share it with the community. And I was wondering if it probably wouldn't be appropriate for me to share it with our audience and see if anybody wants to donate any equipment to the broadcasting.
I don't think it's
$12.
Let me say, I will give my opinion that I kind of don't ever think it's wrong for a public school teacher to ask to see if people want to support. It's optional. It's you don't have to if you don't want to, but if anybody has a sense of what it means to be part of a public school system and the tiny budgets, I just
Well,
don't
my
have a
class
problem with you.
my class in particular is a tough one right now because there is, so it's a brand new class. It will be a CTE class. So, and at that point it will have funding.
Like the brain injury.
But you have to teach the class for a year to
Mhm.
become a CTE class.
Hmm.
And it's not, so like there's no budget for, like I was talking to I'm like, I need computers, I need microphones, I need this, I need this, I need this. And he's like, we'll have to see if we can find some money for them. I'm like, find some money? What am I going to teach with? Like, I can't just bring everybody to my house every week to or every day to teach.
Take pictures and show. You're like, and this is what it would look like if you had a microphone.
Oh my God. They showed last thing and then we'll start. So they did say, well, back in the day, we used to do like a morning news broadcast. So we have some of that equipment for you. And I'm like, sweet. And so yesterday they like dug the stuff out of boxes and they're like, oh, and here they are. And they pull out these what look like very nice professional cameras.
Oh.
And then he hands it to me and there's 3 of them. I'm like, sweet, we can do 3 camera shots. I got nice tripods. I'm like, that's actually great. We can make this work. And I'm looking at the camera. I'm like, what? And I push a button and it goes, and the tape comes out. I knew somebody's gonna say, what is career? It's
what is CTE? CTE is chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
I'm drawing a blank. It's like career
Did I say that
technical
right?
education.
Encephalopatous.
Now I have to look this up. Hang on.
You
It's like
invented a new animal.
what does CTE stand for?
Chronic
Career
traumatic.
technical education.
Career and technical. I had it right. Career technical. I forgot the and. Career and technical education. So
Yeah. But get rid of the school and see what it says.
it's not what you said.
It is. It's chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Holy shit, you're right. I thought you were making that up. Whoa. Yeah, career and technical education. So the idea is, and it's the reason I was like on the advisory board and I want to do it because I think it's a cool thing. Something I feel passionate about and have like kind of argued with another school district about in the past. Is that the schools were just driven only to college, and there are kids that just don't want to go to college. That's just not their thing. And what CTE does is it's creating a path for students who don't want to go to college. So like our school, the district where I'm working, we have like a woodworking CTE course. We have a computer aided drafting CTE course. We have graphic design, machine tooling, all these, and so they're and now broadcasting. So they're trying to create lots of paths and avenues for students that don't want to go to college to give them a way to get educated in a career driven path, which I think is really cool. So,
Awesome.
and they guilted me into all of my previous statements about that when they asked me to take the job. Like, there you go.
Make a difference, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm excited about it. I do love that I'm excited to teach again. And I really love the fact that we're providing an avenue for people that are like, hey, I want to, and as you know, Janet, in the industry, it's not just the people in front of the camera that are, there's every single position. So like that's the whole like first month that I'm teaching, and the curriculum I'm putting together is like teaching about all the different positions that are involved in broadcasting. And then I have a meeting on Friday with somebody at our local radio station, because they want us to kind of create like a feeder program for them where people can have jobs when they come out of it. So it'd be cool.
Well, I saw that a couple of people, I think it was Lauren and Kristen, said Donors Choose is maybe a cool site where teachers can post like their wish lists and stuff.
Oh, is that? I have to look at. I know there's a thing because I saw other teachers in our district that had posted public like teacher wish lists for stuff. Because like ours, like I try to like, because what they don't have is any audio equipment. So I went through was like, what is to get good stuff, but that's not crazy expensive enough to put together a recording studio so they can like make podcasts and do stuff like that. And it's like the total of everything is like $3,000. And if we can get a lot of people to pick away little pieces of it, that'll save the school some money. And with that, we should get started. And Doug McElhaney wants to know how I'm going to teach because I won't be able to remember the kids' names. And that's funny because his name's not Doug. Let's hit record.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. Room tone.
Is it my turn?
I said.
I don't know what that means.
That means
I didn't take your class yet.
Yeah, this is the international symbol for record, or it's cool to take the plane off from the aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Ahoy, friends. Thank you for tuning into Truth and Justice. You are listening to the Friday follow-up for a special edition of Truth and Justice. The part one of the reply brief for the prosecutor's analysis of the Heyman Lee murder case. This week has been a great week for critical thinking in this case and has also raised a lot of emotions and questions. Today, I'm joined by Bob Ruff and Janet Varney, and the three of us are here to discuss it all. But before we jump into this week's episode, Bob, do we have any housekeeping?
First, let me just say, well done. That was well written. That was one of your better intros.
It went pretty well, didn't it?
Yeah, that's some
All
good
right.
stuff. Who knew?
Don't neg him. That was a backhanded compliment.
It was no,
Like,
I would.
That
It was not.
You were like, the implication was that was actually good. That was one of your better intros.
No, see, you're making it into something negative. I
just want you to have more to edit.
Zach, I want you to
have more
know,
edit.
I genuinely thought that was some excellent
Thank
writing
you.
on your part. And Janet's being a jerk to you on your birthday.
You know what? I'll take it. It's with love. It's with love. I get it.
Yeah.
It's all with love.
I'm not being a jerk to you. And you
It
know
was
it.
it was
I
a
know you're
compliment.
not.
They're
I know
always
you're not.
good. That was a great one. I just thought, well, there's some nice turns of phrase in there. Nice work.
JV, you're the last person that I would feel like would be a jerk to me. Like,
Oh, you
there's a
don't
lot
know
of
her.
people.
She mean as a snake.
Oh, I'm not saying she wouldn't.
I give
I'm
what
not
I
saying
get.
she won't
you know what
say
I mean?
things.
I give
but
what I get. I give what I get.
Yeah.
True.
So don't get
I
upset.
kind of asked for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, why am I doing this to myself? Hey guys, and so first things first, there are about 100 of you in our YouTube chat right now that are going to see this now. And then hopefully for those of you that are going to listen to this first thing on Friday morning, this week I've just arranged, most of you guys, I think everybody knows this, or most of you do, that I took a position where I'm going to be working, just teaching 3 hours a day at our local high school. I'm going to be a CTE instructor teaching broadcasting to kids, which I'm super excited about. But what's not 3 hours a day is the first week of professional development before school starts. And so I've been like burning it at both ends this week. And I'm moving my son into college at Michigan State University tomorrow, which is all great stuff. But has me a little panicked. Luckily, one of our amazing listeners a lot of you guys had reached out with ideas for episodes. And one of our listeners reached out and told me that he has a very close connection with someone who has a lot of experience. And in fact, it sounds like I would say expert, because he sounds like he travels and teaches law enforcement agencies about this, all about the rules and practices around search and seizures. And I just literally right before we hit record, confirmed that I'm going to be interviewing him on Friday. for this week's episode. So what I would like you guys to do, and for those of you that are live right now, don't do it in the YouTube chat. Send me an email or a DM. Send me any I know that we have some questions that have just recently come up about search and seizures with some of the missing person stuff and about like, you know, people's property and things like that. But any questions that you guys have, if you had an expert in front of you, an expert in search and seizure laws and practices, send me those questions and I will ask him those questions on Friday when we do the interview. So if you're listening to this Friday morning, definitely, you know, get on it, because we haven't arranged a time yet, but it'll probably be, you know, late morning, early afternoon when we're going to do this interview on Friday. So get that stuff in. If you have any questions that you'd like me to ask him, send those in. So that is housekeeping number one. I don't think there's any other housekeeping that I can think of. We're getting, after this week with the Announce stuff, that's all moving over to Patreon. We're back to business as usual on this feed, which probably is a good transition into where we're going now, because some people were super duper excited about this week's episode. Some people were super duper mad about this episode. Some people were indifferent to this episode. So we're going to talk all about that. Nicole Johnson in the chat. Thank you. That you can tell I'm a little frazzled. She said, she said, you should make a post in the group for questions, Bob. Good idea, Nicole. Literally, I should have thought of that myself, but I will definitely do that. Thank you, Nicole, for snapping me out of it. All right. So before we get into all the listener questions and stuff, Zach, I'll start with you. You're not super familiar with the Anand Sayed case, so you're kind of playing the part of a listener that never listened to Serial.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of brought up three groups, and I'm definitely in that last group, that indifferent group. It was interesting to listen. It was interesting to listen to. I mean, like I said in the intro, it was definitely nice to hear the critical thinking and kind of put that exercise on of listening to both sides and not being in an echo chamber. I really appreciate that. As far as the case goes, you mentioned it in the episode as if you don't know this case, you probably shouldn't be trying to figure out this case by listening to a podcast about a podcast about a podcast,
right? Yeah,
rebutting another
here.
podcast.
That's very well said.
So
yeah,
that's kind of where I fell. I know some outside kind of a roundabout of this case, but I don't know a lot. I spent most of this time that this case was relevant, I was all in on West Memphis 3.
Right.
So that's where my focus has always been. So it's not that this case isn't important and wasn't in my peripheral. It just never hit me. Yeah. So
did you, and it wasn't required, I didn't even ask you to, but did you listen to did you happen to go listen to the prosecutor's episode afterwards?
I actually did not.
I figured.
Just solely based on I don't know anything about this case, so I don't know where to begin and where not to begin.
Also, it should be pointed out that on Sunday, Zach's brother, who has been in the military and has been in Syria for a year, came home and surprised him for his birthday. So I suppose that's a good excuse not to listen to podcasts. Yeah,
no, I definitely did not listen. I barely listened to yours. I mean, I really did, but no, that was a great surprise, and that's been where my mind has been for a while. So I was really happy to have my brother home.
Yeah, that's awesome. Glad he's home.
Great.
Janet, you, on the other hand, are in one of the other positions where you know everything about this case. I followed it from the very beginning and listened to all the podcasts. So what did you think about the episode?
I thought it was really interesting, and I thought, and I did listen to the prosecutor's episode, and I really appreciated, from the very beginning of the episode, and Brett says this every time they do a new case, he says, we're going to get a bunch of stuff wrong. Like, he actually says that at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So, and he's like, and we're going to hear from you guys, and, so to me, I appreciated the fact that it was nice to have somebody kind of help me sort of keep track of some of the stuff that, wasn't necessarily as accurate. There was a lot of really interesting information and opinion in there, and I really liked your kind of analysis of it. That this is something that you've spent a tremendous amount of time working on over the last 10 years, and so I think it's very normal for you to want to kind of be able to comment on it a little bit.
Yeah, and I also want to point out before, just kind of as a precursor, just based on some social media reaction, like, I'm not mad at Brett and Alice, and they're not mad at me. As far as there are people that they have. It's kind of cool to see. It kind of takes you aback at first, and then realize our fans are the same way. Like, we have fans that are super duper loyal and will defend me. There's a lot of times I'm on the fan page saying, "Listen, I love you guys, but you don't need to jump on and cheerlead for me because it just makes people argue." Even though it's super sweet and I love they do. And the prosecutors have the same thing. There are definitely people that that have come right at me for daring to question their work, and as though we're in like some huge fight between us and them. And I just want to let you guys know that's not the case. I talked to Brett before I did this, told him I was going to do this. He said he thought it was a good idea and thought it would be a good thing for both shows for us to do. Like, nobody's mad at anybody. Nobody's fighting. We're just breaking down. And as as Janet just pointed out, like they said in their first episode, we expect to get some things wrong and we expect you guys to correct us. And they hope for them to do that. That's all this is it's a thought experience. It's me getting my thoughts out, and which is important to me. I just have that type of brain. That's how like literally what's happening right now is how Serial Dynasty started. I was like listening to everything on it, and it was just like, I have all these things that are driving me crazy. I need to spew them out somewhere, and no one around me wanted to hear it. So I was like, well, I'll just put it out on the internet and see if there's anybody out there that wants to listen to it. And that's what we're putting on Patreon, so that people who do want to listen to it, because I've never been more sure that the right place for this is to be bonus content for our patrons, because much as I expected, there are lots of people that are like, oh, I can't wait. This is great. I want to hear more. There are people that are like, why are you doing this? We've heard so much about this case and I'm sick of it. There are people like Zach who are like, this is cool, but I don't know what you're talking about because I don't know this case and don't really care that much. And then there are people that just are like, I don't want you questioning Brett and Alice at all. And like, for all those people, they don't have to hear it. It's just over there where it's supposed to be. That being said, someone in the chat just asked, when are these episodes going to drop on Patreon? I'm planning on trying to drop them on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. It just depends on how my schedule works, because I'm keeping like priority one is getting the main episodes out here, and then that's like bonus fun work for me to go put that stuff out over there. But the goal is to shoot for midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday.
I think another thing too that I had, the way I see it, is a big reason to push it to Patreon is Adnan has a lot of people to fight for him, right? The point of Truth and Justice is to podcast with a purpose and to fight for those that can't fight for themselves. Adnan has a whole crew. You know, I'm really happy you're doing this, but you know, with our Truth and Justice Army, we need to fight for people that can't fight for themselves and have no army behind them.
Yeah, that's well said. And as Janet mentioned in the pre-show, for the Patreon pre-show, she was saying that like what we're doing right now is not affecting whether he, you know, is in or out of prison. We're just making sure that the information that's out there is accurate for people who care to know that, you know, what all the accurate information is. With that being said, I know that if I keep rambling, I'll step on every question that you have in front of you.
Okay, yeah, we've hit a couple. We've definitely hit a couple, but I think it's good. I just wanted to make sure, you know, I did see in the posts, I kind of saw a representation of almost everything that you said, which was, you know, that people feel different ways about this, and so I had wanted to make sure to drop in a few of those just to make sure that those voices were heard. I think you've already made it clear that they have been heard, but I'll give a couple of quick shout outs to folks like Grayson, who definitely was like, all due respect, but I don't know why we need to hear more about this. So shout out to you, and shout out to Melissa, who was curious about when release days were come out. I think Lauren, what release days would be for those Patreon episodes, and Lauren, I think you were the one who asked it live, so we've got some answers to that as well. And then just to represent people who maybe aren't in a position where they can join Patreon right now but are really interested, Janae, I hope I'm saying that right, you know, is very hopeful because they love to follow the case but aren't able to support on Patreon right now. Kind of paraphrasing there, but is it safe to say that you'll sort of put a pin in that, think about it, and if the opportunity makes sense in the future, perhaps that can happen?
Yeah.
That you're not trying to withhold anything from anyone, and I know Janae knows that, but
yeah, no, and that's the thing is Janae is I get it, and I do feel there are some people that are like, I just can't afford it right now, and I feel for you, but we got to make a decision and put it somewhere, and it's been very clear if I spend the next 3 months putting these out on the main feed, there's going to be a lot of people that are very upset about that because they don't want to hear it. So like if there ever was anything that was for sure bonus content, this is bonus content.
Yeah, I would also say
before you do that, off the podcast, just for the live stream,
yeah.
Josh, my man.
I think I'm thinking the exact same thing you are thinking.
This is Josh, and I love you, man. And you've been around for a long time. But Josh super chats $5 and says, I wish I could get on Patreon right now. I hate to miss the episode. the amount you just put into that super chat is how much it would cost on Patreon to hear the whole series. So
That's a great point. If you, Josh, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
If you want, you can just wait for a few weeks and then join Patreon for a month, pay Bob $5, listen to all of those episodes, and get out.
Yep. Sorry, we'll
That
get
is
back
an
into
option.
we'll get back in the podcast. It just struck me as I don't know if Josh was trying to be funny or not, but I was like, it's literally the exact amount that it costs.
I know, it is amazing. That's amazing.
Janet, what was that for?
I was
That's
giving
him
you a spot
clicking.
to edit to.
Oh, thanks. And they said Janet's a little quiet, so I'm gonna turn her up a little bit.
Check, check, check. Talking, talking, checking, talking. Did that make a difference?
Walkie talkie.
I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully. All right. So we can get back to wherever we just were. Whatever you were about to say.
Okay. And then M is just wondering if there will be a way to follow up for those episodes, since we're not going to be doing standard weekly follow-ups. Will there be a place for people to, give you their thoughts or follow up with you? I would assume that the Facebook page is probably a good place to do that, but do you have any further thoughts?
Yeah, and on Patreon, there's Patreon has comments underneath every post. We can do it there. And Janet and I even talked about doing like a version of a follow up on Patreon about them if people have lots of and maybe even we do it as a live stream or something that doesn't have to be edited. And as far as kind of circling back to what we just said about the episodes if they'll come on the main feed, like it is kind of like a pin in it, because I can't say for sure that we're going to put them on the feed. And most of that's just because it may really upset a lot of people for it to be there. So kind of my thoughts are, if we get to a place where we're like, our case selection team right now is working very hard picking a case. If we get to a case where we have one and it's like, I need to dive into this case and spend a few weeks getting into it and prepping and researching and getting documents, that maybe that would be a good time for us to go ahead and you could look at it one of two ways. Either just look at it as, hey, we're going to take a break for a month while we get ready to do this. Or if you want to hear those non-Syed episodes, we'll move those over onto the main feed then, where people can hear them then. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And so I think there's probably a good chance that we'll get to that point, because it'll be, at some point I'm going to have to spend time to research, and that would be a good time to do that. So if you just can't afford it, I would say probably at some point these will come out on our main feed in a couple months.
Okay, great. God, I'm so sorry. I know you're gonna have to edit this, but the other thing is that, on Max Fun, the network that my JV Club podcast is on, they have a gift membership option. So if people have a little extra that they want to give and they have a relationship with a listener who's not able to join Patreon, then they can double their monthly gift and sort of assign that Patreon feed to.
Do they do that through Patreon, or is it through another?
It's just through their network, but I feel like we could figure something out even through the Facebook page. So
yeah, we won't say it on the podcast now until I figure that out, but I'll look into that.
Sorry, I
that's
just
fine.
knew I was going to forget if I didn't say something. And in the time it took to do this, Josh subscribed. So we love you, Josh. Okay, great.
I'm sorry. I love you, Josh. You're the best.
Oh, here comes the meltdown.
Nope, I'm fine.
So one of the things that I think I just want to point out, and I want to give a shout out to Nancy for posting about on the Facebook page, is, you made it very clear that you were not saying that Brett and Alice were necessarily, you weren't saying, I'm talking about Brett and Alice when I say that I had a conversation with a prosecutor who talked about that need to win.
Right.
And that is something that I think, you've talked about on this podcast before, but for anybody who hadn't heard that before, it's very jarring to hear. And so I think there are people like Nancy who are still really processing the idea that any one prosecutor would have told you that they're all about the win. And so, she appreciated you bringing that up and is, I think, thinking through what that could mean. But I think it was a really good way for you to explain, sort of where your concerns live and why you feel like it's important for you to kind of voice, information that you feel like is not totally right or whatever.
Yeah. So here's the thing. One thing I want to make clear, because I did see a few comments where people are like, "Oh, you were talking about them when you." I wasn't. I was talking about a very specific person, but also I brought it up because it actually, as much as I don't like it, it makes sense, because the way it was described to me was it's the police's job to investigate and figure out if they got the right person. Then they bring their case to us, and they're kind of the prosecutor's kind of the gatekeeper, and they look at it and decide, okay, do they have the right person? Yes, they do. If they decide that that is the right person and they're going to take them to trial, from that point forward, they're building a, if you look at it kind of in terms of like if you're writing a speech, they're now writing a persuasive speech. They've already decided, and again, any prosecutor, they already decided, okay, I have now set my goal. The goal is to convict this person because I've determined that they're guilty. So then they craft their case, or if it was a speech, your persuasive speech, in the best way, present in the way to persuade the jury to do what I want them to do. So first of all, I want to point out, I didn't say that as though it was like a negative thing. Like I wasn't saying it as that's wrong, because as much as like there's the wrongful conviction investigator inside of me is like, oh no, you need to be thinking about innocent or guilty. But the fact is, in a perfect world, they have very much considered innocent or guilty, and they've already looked at all the evidence and came to their conclusion. But it doesn't make sense. It's just like, let's flip it. Okay. So a defense attorney who's defending a guilty client.
I'm glad you're bringing this up, because I was literally going to say exactly this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which happens all the time, because the Constitution guarantees you the right to a good defense, regardless if you're innocent or guilty. When they go to trial, they're crafting their opening statements, their closing statements, the witnesses they put on, the evidences they put up, how they cross-examine witnesses, based on persuading the jury that the person is not guilty, even if they know that they are guilty. So it goes both ways. So the first thing I want to point out is, when I was saying that, I wasn't saying that prosecutors are doing something terribly wrong, because when they go to court, all they want to do is win. Both sides, when they go to trial, all they want to do is win. The reason I was bringing it up is, and again, people were like, how dare you accuse them of this? I wasn't accusing them of anything, like as though it was a negative. I was just pointing out, and one of the reasons is, like, I've had a very prominent true crime podcaster with some pretty great credentials that if I said the name, you would all know this person, and you would be shocked when they message me and they're like, I'm confused now. Literally the word they used was, I'm confused. I listened to their coverage and I'm confused about the case. And that was what it was like. That's, if that can happen to this person, it was happening to a lot of people. And then I listened, and I realized, like, the reason I was pointing that out is because I just want you to understand what you're listening to. I said Brett and Alice are presenting this as though they are prosecutors prosecuting a case. I did not say that is wrong, that is immoral, that is anything negative. Just merely pointing out that when I'm analyzing their presentation, it's like, oh, that's what they're doing. That's why it sounds so different. That's why it's such a different perspective, because they researched the case, they did an analysis, they came to a conclusion, and now they're putting out a podcast that is intended to persuade you to believe the same conclusion as they did. I do the same thing. The difference between me and them is I do it in real time. So it's week by week, piece by piece. But, certainly when I present something, what I try to always do is make sure you have all the facts, and I give you my opinion and you can make your own. But I'm writing it as from my own perspective, and that's what they're doing. They're writing it from their perspective. So I just want to point out, number one, the prosecutor I was talking about was not them. I wasn't talking about them. I wasn't saying that there's anything wrong with that. And when I said that they're presenting it as prosecutors in that way, I wasn't saying there's anything wrong with that either. It's merely me putting out, when you're listening to this, just understand that. And the coach side track thing, it was a perfect example of that. Like they were able to say a thing as a prosecutor or a defense attorney would do. They'll give you the piece of evidence that supports their case, and which is not inaccurate, but maybe not share other pieces of evidence that don't support their case, which that could have been intentional. That could have been an accident. I don't know. All I know is that information wasn't out there. So I wanted to make sure that it does get out there.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people were maybe a little surprised, or like they had a different response to this particular form of coverage because, Brett and Alice don't necessarily always talk about active live cases where people's lives are at stake right now, where people are fighting for their freedom or fighting for a conviction of someone. And so I think, there were, I know I saw some responses from people who were a little jarred by it because they enjoy episodes like the prosecutors do, where they're talking about mysteries, or they're talking about really old cases, or they're trying to prove that ghosts exist, or they're trying to prove that exorcisms are real, which are all episodes, that they've done. And maybe that feels more playful, or it feels like the stakes are less high for some of those. And so, I think, again, they take on a lot of different types of conversations. And this is one that might fall a little bit closer to their everyday job. And so, you might have a different response to it. But I totally get it either way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And in the chat, Kathy asks, but a prosecutor doesn't have to prosecute a case if they don't think there's enough evidence, right? And that's exactly right. But so in the scenario I'm giving, that would mean that a prosecutor had evaluated the case and they believed there is enough evidence. Just want to make that clear. It's not that they're like, I don't think they're guilty, but I'm going to prosecute them anyway and just try to win. Again, in a perfect world with honest prosecutors, the belief would be that when they take the case to trial, it's because they think the person is guilty and because they think there's enough evidence.
Right. And then I just want to shout out, folks, I'm not going to name individual people, but I think, and some of the people that you heard from were very confused because they were hearing about data that they had maybe not seen before, but then no sources were cited. So I think that's maybe one of the other things. And I know you don't necessarily have the answer to that, but there were just people who were kind of saying, people who have read a lot of case documents and people who follow the case very closely are wondering, like, the only place they saw something was on Reddit that seemed that it was a speculation. And so they were just asking you if you have any information on where some of the lesser known stuff that might be presented as fact is coming from, if it's not case documents.
Stuff that the prosecutors are presenting. Yeah, I mean, they said that they have access to the defense file, which is available online now. And also remember that I think later towards the end of like our coverage on Disclose, even the trial transcripts weren't all out available for the public back then. So we had like the police case file, but we didn't have the full file. So some of the stuff is new because it just wasn't around 8 years ago or readily available 8 years ago when we were originally covering it. But I haven't heard anything. There's going to be episodes that we talk about where they talk about a few things from the defense file. And those I didn't know because the defense file just absolutely was not available. It came out in like later post-conviction pleadings is where some of the defense file came out. That wasn't available at all back 8 years ago when we first covered it. I haven't heard anything groundbreaking from it so far, but they do cite that as a source in a few places.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Okay, so Brandon says, the question I have is, Jay's lies have been proven to be lies. Are Adnan's lies truly lies or failures in recollection? And regardless if they are proven to be lies, does the proof infer his guilt or innocence? The proof of Jay's lies proved that Jay was not where and when he said he was, when he assisted in supposedly helping Adnan bury the body. So his story of Adnan's confession is null and void. Does the proof of Adnan lying, if they aren't simply failures to recall, prove his guilt?
That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
To the root of that question, it's hard to say. I think that Adnan probably lied about some stuff. Some stuff it was, he's clear because remember, I kept saying in the episode, I don't know where they were getting where Adnan gives his timeline. And I went back afterwards, and I think they're just quoting Serial. because we don't have a recorded interview from Adnan with the police, and that was 6 weeks later anyway. And maybe there's some because they didn't cite where that information came from, but I think that they were just quoting Serial with some of that stuff. When he was talking to Sarah Koenig, there some stuff could be I think a lot of the stuff he just doesn't remember. Because you're going to hear that, right? It's like at first he's like, I don't really know. And then it kind of pushes for an answer until he like gives her an explanation. And then there's some stuff that I think that he did probably lie about to Sarah Koenig, but for a lot of reasons, not big time things, whatever, maybe things that, did you and Hay ever have sex in Best Buy? No, we didn't. And then you see somewhere later where he had said that they did have sex in Best Buy before. Right. That I don't think any of it proves anybody's innocence or guilt, nor does Jay's stuff. The big thing is to look at is as Brett had mentioned, like the parts of the evidence that don't require, we have actual evidence showing that they were at a place at a time doing a thing that's corroborated by multiple sources. So yeah, did Adnan lie about some stuff? Probably. Does that mean that he's innocent or guilty? No, I don't think. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say there are a lot of, I mean, again, I totally comfortable with people saying that undisclosed is biased. It's biased in favor of believing that Adnan is innocent 100%. But they do provide a ton of source material, and Colin's blog does the same thing. So if you're curious about some of those things, I mean, they literally have an episode called Adnan's Day, and you can listen to that if you want a refresher or if you haven't listened to it, and hear a pretty specific breakdown of what is known or what is in court record and etc.
Yeah, and I believe if I remember, and it's been a long time, so you might have listened to it since then, more recently than me, Janet. But if I remember correctly, like Adnan's Day wasn't based on where and when Adnan said he was, but it was based on outside factors, like where it was Becky or Debbie say she saw them in the guidance counselor office. When did Krista see him? Takesha or Takira or somebody who we didn't hear about from Serial, what Asia says, what Coach Sai says, what the cell phone records show, things like that is how they kind of break down his day.
Yeah. Jess had a great question about, just wanting to make sure that the kind of conflict that's arising from people outside of the case because of this coverage, worrying if, or just asking if anything is going to happen to Adnan. You already answered that, Jess. So hopefully that helps, that it's not really something that necessarily would affect what's going to happen with Adnan. And then Jess also mentions, for what it's worth, and I haven't looked at this, but Jess mentions that there was a blog that Brett did from years ago arguing for Adnan's guilt, which contradicts his assertions. I'm just reading this quote, which contradicts his assertions that he's coming into the series from an unbiased and previously uninformed viewpoint. I don't know. I've never read a blog post about that. So
no, I've heard. And listen, I want to point out too, just as there are people that are big prosecutors fans that are mad at us, there are some of our fans that are mad at them, and people have like pointed out stuff like that or different things about Brett or Alice they don't like. And I just want to, but like, I don't care about any of that stuff. Like literally, I just want to go through. Somebody in the chat had just put, it's going to take 14 weeks for Bob to answer the prosecutors. Like, yeah, it's going to take. I'm going episode by episode. So yeah, once a week, I'm going to take one of their episodes and I'm going to break down my thoughts on that specific episode. And that's what this is about. It's not about, I'm not going to be attacking or arguing or anything about whether people like Brett or like Alice. They do or they don't. It doesn't matter to me.
And then Lynn, this is always a fun thing. If you're familiar with the case, this comes up every so often. I was going to say it comes up every few months, but maybe that's an overstatement. But Lynn says, did Colin Miller ever release his bombshell to blow all the state's evidence out of the water?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No,
I think as long as anything is out there that potentially could lead to an actual new trial for Adnan, if the state decided to go that route, I just don't think that they've had, like, my sense of it is that there's no reason to release that when it may be useful.
My take on it has always been that he has some information that's been given to the lawyers that they have, and it's all being strategically planned with the attorneys to see if and when they need to use it, and so it's not going to be shared on a podcast or a tweet between now and then.
Right. But Lynn, many of us are very, very curious. Okay. So that I'm sort of going to wrap up that part of this content and offer up an idea from Emily about potential future episode as we wait for our new wrongful conviction season. So Emily says, it's a really long post and very thoughtful. I'm going to kind of sum it up with this part of it from Emily. Would you be able to interview or ask others who work on murdered and missing Indigenous women's cases to produce content that can then be shared with the Truth and Justice Army on the podcast, or someone who's already doing that, someone who's dedicated to telling these women's stories and might bring a different tone than that of a family member if they're sort of doing it in the field already, and very thoughtfully saying this could reduce both your emotional and physical labor of producing content and gives the Truth and Justice Army the opportunity to really put some pressure and visibility on law enforcement that these women will not be forgotten. Maybe we can find them some justice. So cool idea from Emily, which maybe we'll have the opportunity to push forward some work that's being done by other folks. And I think we talked about that a little bit before.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, if I can find somebody that's a very specific situation to find. But if we come up with something like that, absolutely. Because I would love to be able to shine a light on cases like that. I do plan on, as I said, I want to continue to do like a missing person of the week. We're going to break down, cases that are out there. And I do plan on really focusing on some of those missing and murdered Indigenous women cases to try to put it out there. But yeah, if we find somebody that can help with that, absolutely.
All right. Well, that is all I have for this week. Zach, you have anything else?
I do not. I do not.
No, that's it. And I appreciate you, Janet, helping me keep this quick because I have, as I mentioned, moving my son into college tomorrow, and which was the normal day I edit. A little frazzled.
Life is happening. Life is happening even as we record.
Really ready to getting into a routine next week. So, moving forward, again, I will put up a post. Thank you, Nicole, again, about any questions you want to ask for our expert this week. And again, keep submitting stuff through our website and emails, episodes you'd like to hear, missing persons cases for us to highlight, not with a long interview, but be able to highlight them. Send those in, and any questions that we have for this week's guest, and we're plugging them. I'm super excited. So I'm in the email thread with the team of case selection folks, and I like to stay out of it until they get it narrowed down to a handful of them, and then they'll do like a presentation of the cases to me. But I'm seeing all the emails going back and forth. We're doing Zoom meetings. There's something called phase 1 that's about to be complete. I don't know what that means.
I like phases.
Yeah, we're fixing to move into phase 2, whatever that means. But they're excited. They're hard at work. So somebody in there had said, they love the podcast, love the work, but they're having a hard time, staying engaged in these one-off episodes. Totally get it. Hopefully you stick around. But if you got to take a break. We'll be back. But there will be another normal long-form wrongful conviction season coming soon enough. In the meantime, make sure you tune in on Sunday will be what I'm hoping will be a really fascinating interview. I'm super excited to talk to this person. And for you patrons, the episode 2 of the prosecutor's coverage will drop probably Tuesday or Wednesday next week for the Patreon feed. And for those of you that don't want to talk about a nonce case anymore, just like that, we're done talking about a nonce case.
They may not have even listened to this follow-up. So.
They may not have, yeah. But thank you. We love you all for all of your engagement, your support, both just being here in the live streams, listening every week, commenting on the Facebook page, donating on Patreon, and engaging there. We appreciate all of it. We love you guys, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
All right, let's stop on our audio. That's 37 minutes, and there was probably 5 minutes of nonsense, which means it's only going to be a 30-minute episode for me to edit.
Boom, boom,
Except for I have to edit out the 5 minutes of nonsense. So I guess
we clicked a couple times, and we got some.
Yeah,
you start.
The editing counts. The editing of everything counts.
Oh man, I'm so I'm in. We'll chat with you guys on YouTube for just a minute here. I'm so frazzled right now because obviously schedule's crazy. But like this overwhelming, like this like looming thing of dropping my baby boy off to college tomorrow is like I keep going through these waves of like, I'm so excited for him and then like, oh, I'm sad I'm not going to have my son here every day, you know, because quite again, if you're on Patreon, you'll see Quentin in the beginning, hopefully if the recording worked. But yeah, like we're tight, like we you know, it's for you know, a teenager and a parent, I love our relationship. You know, he'll once a day, he'll always at some point come out to my office, pop down and just shoot the shit for a little while, you know, and it's gonna be a little rough. So like I got that emotional thing like hanging over my shoulder. I've got stress, all this, and so those are my first world problems, folks. That's what I got.
Here comes some super chats for you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Danielle, thank you so much for the super chat. Popping in to make my contribution. Expect to enjoy the prosecutor's review. Nostalgic. Yeah, I didn't have anybody. What do you guys think about the style of me just jamming off of a notebook instead of writing it?
I love it.
Writing a script.
I like it because you're a little more free flowing and you cuss more. And that's the Bob I know.
I think I only cussed once or twice.
That's the Bob I
I
know.
didn't cuss that much.
That's the Bob I know.
Yeah.
The Bob I know talks to me and goes, this motherfucker.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what that's about.
But then the Bob on the podcast is like, this quaint fellow.
Yeah. When you hear those pauses, that's me going, don't say the F word. Don't say the F word. Don't say the F word.
Yeah.
Grayson, hey buddy, thanks for the super chat. Says I found this case interesting because I live in the area this case took place. I've heard so many stories from people that were there.
Oh, Grayson, I'm sorry. I didn't read your comment because I used your comment because it was so thoughtful about like just representing folks who might be like, what is there left to say about this case? I hope you don't feel like I was like being like saying like, ugh, because Grayson did say that in his post also. He did say like, this was really interesting. I lived in the area, but you know, was also like kind of looking out for people who were like, gosh, there's just been so much out there already said about this case. So I hope you didn't feel like I was like
that you made him pay $5 for me to see it.
I know. I hope you don't feel like. I hope you don't feel like that's I misrepresented you in any way on the follow up, my friend. Okay,
I think he's.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, he didn't. So he's doing okay. And Josh, whose father is our expert, says make sure you ask the expert, aka my dad, about his viewing on cursing. You'll love it. I'll definitely make a note of that, Joshua.
I have a very hard time with it because I work in an adult business. Like we're considered an adult business, and we watch we watch comedy and we watch R-rated movies all day.
Yeah.
Like I have a very hard time with my language. Like even I coach kids. I coach a lot of kids, and there's a lot of times at practice where I'm like,
well, that means you're stopping yourself because
but it's hard.
What's the over under on how long it takes me to be disciplined for cursing in front of kids?
You know what? Listen, I coach right now. I'm coaching 3rd and 4th graders, and I definitely cuss at least 3 times a practice.
Yeah.
Now, never horrible, but like a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm really good at like my one side of my family is very conservative, and I have a filter that just slips in, and I never make a mistake there. And I like do a podcast that families listen to, and I never make a mistake there. But when I am with friends, I normally curse around and their kids are near or I'm fully with them. Like I could be looking right at one of their children.
Yeah.
That filter is gone and I drop F-bombs and I'm like, oh my God, I'm looking at you. I'm literally looking at you. And I just said the F word. What am I doing?
Yeah. Well, the tricky thing for me is I have high school teenage, I have an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old. And we're pretty fast and loose with the like. We've kind of, as they got older, it's like, don't cuss at me. I don't care if you cuss. Like what? It's a word. What? Who cares?
Yeah.
So I'm used to not having to have a filter around kids that age. So we'll see.
They like it.
Yeah.
They
Truthfully, what got me was when I went out to Hollywood, because I used to be I had and back me up on this, Janet, or maybe tell me I'm wrong. I was pretty good about watching because I was in the fire department and there was like a lot of I came to a point where I was just like I'm gonna make an effort not to curse at all. I also had little kids for a while and I was like, there's no reason for it. It makes you sound stupid.
Yeah.
And then the first time I went out to LA to like work with people in the industry, man, they love the F word out there.
Yeah.
Everybody like big perfect. Like I was with Mark Herzog, from like
Yeah.
the guy with the wall of Emmys, and he's like, yeah,
Mhm.
fucking this, fuck that, fuck
Yeah.
that. I'm like, jeez.
That's
I gotta
why
be-
there's swear jars on sets where there are kids.
Is
Those
there?
kids
Yeah.
make a ton of money on swear jars.
Yeah.
So you have to put like $1 in every time someone on the crew swears, and
Yeah.
that thing fills up quick.
It was such a weird thing to me. It's like, oh, like that's because usually like you're in a professional setting, you shut that off, and it's like, nah, that's cranked right up when you're in that professional setting. All
that's
right.
great.
I think we should go. Mike thinks that we're fishing for dollars, so we better get out of here.
Listen, speaking of fishing for
He
dollars,
also
where the
wants
fuck
you
is
to
my
give him
money?
$1 million.
Listen,
I
I can't afford to pay Zach for my tattoo.
No, you can't afford it. You will pay him.
This is bullshit.
I'm broke. I'm broke. I need several $100s worth of super chats in order to be able to pay you. And then
You
take
just
my cut.
essentially like dined and dashed on me.
I did. I told him right before he. I literally said,
I was done.
The worst part is he bought my lunch, and I'm like, you should let me buy my lunch because I'm definitely not paying you for the tattoo.
Oh no, this is getting worse and worse.
Mhm.
Oh,
all right. Hang on, I want to do something real quick before we go. Hang on, clickety clack. Is this the one I push?
Yep. Bye.
You guys. I'm almost done. Hang on.
Love you long time.
huh.
Hang on, I'm with you. I'll be with you in just a second, folks.
Thank you for the birthday
I
wishes,
can
everybody. I really
almost-
appreciate it.
Yeah. Are you going to do something? I know
I'm not
had your
fishing for birthday
a
wishes either, but
You had a pre-birthday weekend. Are you doing anything specific tomorrow? Did we talk about that?
no. Michelle took the day off, so we're gonna hang out. But the boys are still out of
nice.
school, and
'Cause that's
I
your
think
day
we're just gonna
off.
hang out. Yeah, and that's my day
really
off. So
cool.
I still have to coach tomorrow. So it's
Oh, you do?
pretty
Okay.
it's a pretty normal day. Like I don't have a reason to not take that day off or whatever. And it's not
Yeah.
even like it's not a special. I'm 39. I'll be 39. So it's not a special like maybe when I turn 40,
last one
like
of
the
your 30s.
40th, I'll do
Yeah.
something big, but like 39, I'm like it's another
Yeah.
it's another day.
Well,
Just another
we love
day.
ya.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Okay,
that.
I'm done now.
Then as soon as I turn 40, I can stop being called the baby of the group because I'll be in the 40s. I mean, I'm still the baby of the group, but like I'll
You-
stop having to hear about it
Don't
maybe
worry,
for a
you're
minute.
definitely still
until we hit
baby.
50. You call us old or me anyway. You never call Janet, and she's like
I know.
a week old. Like it's like calling me
We're
old.
fine.
All right, we're gonna end this YouTube thing. So
Hey, do you remember that time I guessed Janet's height? Like perfect. Just bring that up.
I'm gonna choose not to remember that.
Perfectly. You said, how tall do you think Janet is? And I said, boom. And
You don't
she's like,
remember it, do you?
I do. It's 5'10".
Yep.
Yeah. That's a good guess because I always assume everyone is exactly the height I am because that's how I deal with computers.
Oh
I'm
wait,
like, look, see, we're all the same height. And then
I was just about to end the
I'm like, oh.
broadcast, but there's one more super chat that I'll put up. Devin.
Oh,
Devin says, "Bobbert, how do you show for tattoo without money? Here's $5."
Fishing for dollars.
Thanks, Devin. You're never gonna see that $5, Zach. What happened was I had a whole plan for me to go, and I was gonna go to the bank and then go there, and then there was construction, and I couldn't get off the exit that I wanted to, and then I was running late, and then I just went, and then it was literally the moment he bought lunch because I took money out and said I'll buy lunch, and he's like, "No, I got it. I already paid for it." And that's when I was like, "Huh, should have done that because that's all the money I have." All right, now I'm going to hang on, let me edit. We're gonna end the YouTube.
Maybe.
Bye, YouTube. We love you.